Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today and welcome to today's webinar. My name is David Gazai, and for those who don't know me, I'm the Director of Member Services and Learning at Orchestras Canada. I want to take a few moments here to mention that Orchestras Canada is a virtual organization, which means that we all work from where we live. I work from Kingston, Ontario, on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat, and I recognize the enduring presence of the First People. Today's session will be recorded and made available on OC's website soon, so feel free to share it with your colleagues that could not be here today. I'd also ask you to put any questions you might have in the chat as we go. There will be a Q&A after the presentations, and I will relay all of your questions to the presenters. Before I introduce today's presenters, I would like to clarify that Orchestras Canada has a promotional partnership with HarmonySite, and that OC will receive a financial consideration from HarmonySite for any group that signs up to HarmonySite platform using our discount code. So the discount code reduces your cost by 10% and also benefits OC. I'm going to ask Parwan to put the discount code in the chat here so you can have it. I've known HarmonySite for about a year now, and I was immediately quite impressed with what the platform can do. They offer a solid all-in-one solution for group management at a very affordable price. In the process of familiarizing ourselves with the platform, the London Community Orchestra agreed to test it, and they have been doing so since the past November. Our first presenter for today is Mark Virtue, the creator of HarmonySite. He'll give you a brief overview of the platform. We will then follow up with a presentation by Kristen Hoffman, who is the manager of the London Community Orchestra, to share her experience with the platform. Then we will move on to the Q&A and answer your questions at the end, so make sure to post them in the chat as you go. Enough of me talking now, and Mark, take it away.
Thank you, David. That's great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming along and listening to what we have to say about HarmonySite. I'm Mark Virtue. I'm calling in from Australia. It's very early in the morning on Wednesday morning, I think, here. So calling from the future. Yeah, and I'm here to talk to you, obviously, about HarmonySite, tell you what it is, show you a bit of how it works and so forth. I'll be talking to you for about 15 or 20 minutes and giving a bit of an expose on all of that. There'll be questions at the end that David has said. So without further ado, I will share my screen and get started. All right, so I assume everybody can see that. Please wave or shout if you can't.
Yeah, we can see all of it. Thank you.
Thanks, David. I'm just tidying up my screen here. All right, so that's the actual HarmonySite website. That's nothing too interesting, but I will direct you to that if you want more information about HarmonySite. So this is just harmonysite.com. You can all make a note of that. It's quite easy to remember. There's things like, what is HarmonySite, the features and so forth. You can read through that. We've got an app as well. You can have a click on that and see what the app can do and so on. I'll cover those obviously properly a bit later on. Anyway, so that's just the HarmonySite website. That's really just showing you that. That's the last thing I'm going to say about that. Let's move on to an actual HarmonySite. So this is London Community Orchestra's HarmonySite that they have been trialing just for the last couple of months. This is the homepage, or this leads to the top of the homepage. And if we scroll down, we can see a little bit more about London Community Orchestra's organisation. Now, I should say as a caveat that LCO just started this. They started the HarmonySite about November, and they've been filling in the members area and making that useful. But the actual public-facing part of the website, we only switched on about a week ago, which is what you're looking at right now. So there's not much there. There's a few pages that are under construction, for example, and this would be what you get when you sign up for your own HarmonySite. You get a HarmonySite that's got all the pages in it, everything that a group could possibly want to. We'll get to the members area in a minute. But the pages themselves, when you look at them, they'll be essentially empty. So there's the history page. This is the history of the London Community Orchestra, and it's currently under construction. And that's to be expected because they haven't filled it in yet because they've only had it for a few days. But that's all right because you'll get to see, roughly what we're looking at here. So we've got things like the event calendar, which is all the events that are coming up, and maybe they don't have any in the calendar just yet. Any upcoming events? Well, there is one upcoming event. That's a concert on the 12th of May, so we can have a look at that. And there's the details of the concert, for example. They haven't filled in the logo yet, but that's all right. And anyway, so it's as far as public-facing websites go, it's pretty standard. It's what you would expect. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is a history of us. This is our events that we've got on. This is our latest news, some photos. It's all the stuff that you would expect to see on a public-facing website. In fact, everything you could possibly hope for, because we've got hundreds and hundreds of groups that use HarmonySite, and they all say, well, shouldn't we have a page that does this? And so we've now got every possible page that you could ever want. And you can, of course, remove the pages that you don't like. You can just delete them or delete the links to them. Anyway, as far as a public-facing website goes, it's great, but it's not that interesting. It's just a website. The real strength of HarmonySite, the thing that you all came to see, of course, is the members area. So without further ado, let's get straight into the members area. So I'll just quickly log in here. And stay logged in. And when we enter the members area for the first time, we see some announcements that they've put together at the top of the page, which anybody can any administrator can create announcements like that. The main part of the members area is to be found down here. So this is the juicy stuff. This is where the magic happens. And there's not a lot here to see at the moment because, as I said, London Community Orchestra's HarmonySite is fairly new. I've got some other HarmonySites loaded up. We might have a look at those if we want to see more significant content. So taking a slight step back here and say, well, what is HarmonySite really? What's the package? What's on offer? So obviously the first thing you see is a public-facing website. So it's a complete website to show off and advertise your group. You get to use your own domain name. So if you've got, prestigeorchestra.ca is your domain name, let's say, and maybe you've already got an existing website there, or maybe you don't. The idea is then that you could eventually connect that domain name to a new HarmonySite. So you'd build out the HarmonySite first and get it ready, and then you would connect your domain name. So during that time, during the period that you're building it out, you wouldn't be visiting, your own domain name, prestigeorchestra.ca or something like that. You'd be using some invented domain name that we would create for you, like London Community Orchestra, for example, is using up the top here, lco.harmonysite.com, just temporarily. And eventually, when they've got the whole thing ready, they'll connect their regular domain name, whatever that happens to be. So public-facing website with your own domain name, if you want to, or if you already have a public-facing website and you're really attached to it and you don't want to change it, that's totally fine as well. We can set you up with a HarmonySite that is simply a members area and nothing else. I actually don't recommend that you do that because if you have a public-facing HarmonySite as well as the members area, there are some neat integration features between the members area and the public-facing website that you lose if you stick with your own existing public-facing website. But you can do that if you prefer. It's totally fine to have a members area that is a fully functional members area, and having a separate website, that's fine as well. So that's two of the things that HarmonySite is. It's a public-facing website and a members area. It's also a full communications package for your members. We've got mailing lists or distribution lists or discussion lists, if you like, all via email. There's regular email addresses that you can set up for yourself, regular mailboxes or forwarders to your personal email addresses. We've got an SMS facility. You can send out bulk SMSs to all your members without really much doing anything. Just say, right, all members get this message. You can send it out within a couple of seconds. It's pretty easy. And we've also got an app, as I mentioned, and a lot of the communications can happen via the app. You can send out notifications via the app. You can alert your members to upcoming events or newly released music or anything else via the app. Even the announcements that we saw at the top of the page can be sent out via the app. There's a little link there. You can see that, notify members via app. And it says, here's the announcement, and you click send, and that goes out to everyone who's running the app. Would then have a little pop-up, come and say, hey, we've got a notification, and they click on that, and it will take them straight to this announcement, and they'll be able to read that. Anyway, so that's part of the ecosystem as well. Yeah, so that's essentially what HarmonySite is. It's all of those things. And I guess then the question becomes, well, what do I need that for? I've already got an email system. I've already got a spreadsheet with all our members listed on it. Our members get copies of all the music easily enough. Why do we need something like this? And it's a good question. I think there is a huge benefit, obviously, in having everything. And when I say everything, I mean all of the information that a member could ever need in one centralized location. What it does, it actually changes the nature of your regular meetings a little bit, because obviously we've all got, every rehearsal we go to, there's, it's the director and the president, the music team and so forth. And the regular members always have questions like, what time are we meeting for the gig on Saturday? Or what are we doing on bar 34 of that with the piccolos? That's totally, we got to fix that. And, all that sort of stuff. The regular questions that come up, 1,000 questions per meeting. The answer to every single one of them should be, it's on the website. But what about it's on the website? And so if you actually then make everything available on the website, which you really should, then those questions during rehearsal, they just dry up. They go away. Everybody eventually realizes, as it becomes a bit of a culture shift within your organization, that everything that they ever need to know is on the website. And they go there and they start helping themselves, and they stop asking the questions during rehearsals. And it streamlines, obviously, all your communications. You get to click a button and send one email to all of your members without trying to remember, did I get everybody here? Is everybody on the list? I can't remember. You don't need to worry about that, because HarmonySite takes care of it. We've got a mailing list facility down here. If you can see my cursor moving, that's you can set up your own mailing list, a mailing list for the entire group, a mailing list for each section, a mailing list for each committee, a mailing list for your friends, for your supporters, essentially. And you can set up all the mailing lists. They're kind of self-maintaining. So when you make changes to the member database, the mailing lists automatically update themselves. So you never really need to worry about who's on the list or whether I've got everybody on the list. So those are the sorts of reasons why you would get a HarmonySite. Just it saves having to have, let's say, your membership database. Where's the latest copy of the membership database? It's in a spreadsheet on somebody's computer, or maybe they put it up online on Google Docs. Okay, that's great. It's on Google Docs up there somewhere. Now, where's all the official documentation for the course? Oh, that's somewhere else. That's on something else, some other website somewhere, or they've been emailing it around and there is no central copy of it. So that's the sort of thing that HarmonySite gives you. Everything is in one central place, and all the members just need to go there and to find it. In HarmonySite, we've been building this software for more than 20 years now. We've got literally hundreds and hundreds of groups, and they've all the groups at some point have said, look, we really need a feature to be able to do this, please. And we've here at HarmonySite, we've gone, yep, all right, that sounds reasonable. And so we build that into the software. So whilst you can see, a finite set of options here, there's about, what is that, 19 options. We've also, for the administrators of the group, we've got way more options than that. So this is the administration page. Looks extremely daunting. How could I possibly get to know all of that? But when you look through it line by line, you'll find it's actually quite self-explanatory and not too daunting. Anyway, I'm trying to just show you that there's a lot more to the HarmonySite than just the members area icons that you see there. Anyway, I'll get started by looking at some of those icons. For example, the member database. So obviously this is where you keep all of your list of all your members. You can make this list available to your members, or you can make it available only to administrators. That's up to you. It's your choice. It's easy to change those things. And in the member database, you get to have various lists of things. Here we've got regular members, active players, violins, wins, members, and helpers. Those are just different subsets of your member database, and you can set up whatever subsets you like, and they're quite useful. You can create mailing lists based on those subsets and so on. So this is one subset. This is the regular members. There's 48 of them, and looking at the first 20, we can show all of them if we want. And that looks like that. So that's their details. You can have photographs for everybody. These guys, there's only a couple of photographs there, but you can do that. And even if they put in their home addresses, then you can see them on a map. I don't think they have, and I don't think they've even put in the rehearsal location, because that's not filled in either. Obviously, their rehearsal location is not in Kansas City. But if they did have their members' home addresses in the database, then, and their rehearsal location was entered into the database as well, then you'd be seeing a Google map of everybody and where they live, and a pin for everyone. That's kind of cool. And there's obviously ways that you can extract everybody's email addresses and use those. And there's also obviously a way to export those to a CSV file. CSV files can then be opened up in Excel or something like that. So you can easily extract your member database at any time and work with it offline in something like Excel. Not that you really need to, but some people like to work that way, and so we support that. Mostly it's really just you work with the member database within the website. So I'm going to pick someone at random. I hope it's not inappropriate to see their contact details. I'll try and hide those a little bit, but their contact details are all at the top. So for privacy reasons, I'm kind of scrolling down a bit. But we get to see here that they are a member of the orchestra. These are all their membership details about their relationship to the orchestra. But then also, I can't hide those contact details, but never mind. There's the relation there. So this is a membership relationship with the organization, and this is a performance relationship with the ensemble that plays. It's a subtle difference, but we keep track of two different sets of details like that, and we do that for every single member. And they also, if they've got a login for the website, that looks like that. So anyway, I'm getting through this quite quickly because we haven't got a lot of time. Just wanted to show you that we do have a member database, and that's roughly what it looks like. The event calendar, we did briefly look at that before. That was up in the public-facing part of the website. But interestingly, when you look at the event calendar, once you're logged in, remember there was only one event and we could only find it was in May. Notice that now that I'm logged in, we can actually see all the rehearsal events as well. So that's interesting, and that's what you should note there, is that every page in your HarmonySite, whether it be a public-facing page or a members area page, they show different things depending on who you are viewing the page. So before, we were just a member of the general public. We were not logged in, and we looked at the page. We didn't see any events except for one coming up in April, in May, sorry. And now that we're logged in, we can see all the rehearsals because those rehearsals, each one is only visible to members. And when we go and visit the rehearsal page, they haven't set up a Google map for this one, but we see, because I'm logged in as an administrator, I get to see all of these options here, all the things you can do with events. You can sell tickets to events, you can create multiple events, like repeating events, which you would do for a rehearsal, obviously. You can email all of the details of the event out to the members, or via email or via the app. You can attach files to the event and so on. And you can even create a program, like a minute-by-minute program for the event. Lots of things you can do with events. And note that if I can change who I'm logged in as here. I can change my permissions, I should say. So now I'm looking at the page as if I was just a regular member and not a webmaster, which I actually am. And you notice all those options, those administration options, disappear. But because I was logged in, because I was viewing as a webmaster, I get to see all of the admin tools. In other words, I'll reiterate what I said before, the page shows different things depending on who you're logged in as. Anyway, I don't think I need to go into the event calendar too much. It's very capable. You can make a list of all the pieces that you're planning to play during the event or rehearsal or concert or whatever it is, and attach them to the event. And there's a whole bunch of things you can do with events. I don't really need to go into them right now because we don't have enough time. What I'll go into instead in the members area is the repertoire. This is obviously a very important part of your HarmonySite and a very important part of your organization. So this is a list of all the, let's call them songs, let's call them pieces, depends on what you guys call them. We can easily change the wording. And this is the list of all those pieces. And so let's go into one. The most obvious thing that you're going to find in there is the sheet music. Hopefully they have done that. No, they haven't. They've done it as a Google Drive. So they've linked in a folder from Google Drive where all of the sheet music, by the looks of things, and some other information is all located in one folder in Google Drive. So they linked that in here, and that's great. That's fine. That's a very easy way to get all of your files for one particular piece available in the central location to all your members. They could obviously go into the Google Drive and find them in there, but the administrators of this site have chosen to make them available here. And you can also attach directly your own files and resources, which can be YouTube videos, MP3 files, PDF sheet music, learning tracks. You can attach pretty much anything you want. If you don't have things stored in Google Drive, that's fine. That's actually a very recent addition to HarmonySite, the ability to simply link in a Google Drive folder or Dropbox or box.com. There's lots of options there here. But mostly what people do, most Harmony sites, they simply upload the files directly to the song page. So you've got all the details of the song at the top and some notes, and then you can attach all the files you want. Obviously, the main thing you'd attach would be the sheet music. I'm not sure how orchestras do it. Apologies if I'm not in an orchestra. I'm in a choir, and in choirs we upload learning tracks, MP3 learning tracks for each part. And maybe you guys do that in orchestras. I apologize if I'm not that familiar. But anyway, whatever files you have that pertain to the song can be uploaded here, and of course videos as well. And so you can do that with every single song, of course. And I doubt that this is all of the music that the London Community Orchestra uses, but they've just uploaded a few so they can get started with HarmonySite. Right, so those are the sort of the main functional areas of HarmonySite, being the member database, the event calendar, and the music library. But obviously there's a whole lot more that you can see here. We've got the bulletin board and the documents. We've got an assessment system where people can submit a recording of themselves playing the piece they're supposed to play and get assessed on whether they did it correctly and whether they're ready for performance. The whole event calendar system, which I won't go back into right now, has an incredibly comprehensive availability and attendance system. So before the event's taking place, you can ask all of your members via email or via the app whether they are planning to be at the event or not, and they can tell you. So you can plan the event accordingly. Make sure you've got all the right, all the sections are represented properly. That's good, always good to know. And then once the event has taken place, you can also then go back into the event if you want to and make a note of who actually turned up, in other words, the attendance. So that's the whole thing right there, which I won't go into right now, but it's very comprehensive. It'll do all the clever things that you need it to do. We can make lists of committees and teams. Let's see if they've got any set up. They haven't got any set up. Once you've created a committee or a team, then you can then create a mailing list for that team, which you could think of it as a discussion list, because each member of the team gets to send emails to the list, which are then distributed to all the other members, and they have their email discussion in that way. And you don't need to remember the email addresses of all of the committee members. You just send it to one email address. Let's go and look at that. I wonder if they've got any mailing lists set up. They do. So every mailing list is really just an email address. Be members at their domain name, which in this case is lco-on.ca. So that if you send an email to that email address, it is then distributed to all of the members in the orchestra. And now there are lots of checks and balances in place within the mailing list area of the system to make sure that unauthorized people are not allowed to send emails to the distribution list, including spammers. So there's 100% spam protection there. You can basically set it up, and how it's usually set up. How it is usually set up is that anyone that's not part of the mailing list does not get to send emails to the mailing list. But of course, you can make your own exceptions to that. And as I said before, you can set up as many mailing lists as you like for whatever purpose you want. Yeah, there's also an app which is enabled. So when you load that up on your smartphone, it looks roughly like this. That's actually a fairly accurate representation of what it's going to look like on your actual smartphone screen. And if you want to know what the app can do, you go back to HarmonySite.com, click on the app, which is a fairly new thing. So we've got new there. We've only released it within the last year, but it's pretty powerful, pretty comprehensive. These are all the things it can do in the features. I'll leave you to read those in your own time. We don't need to cover those now. All right, that was pretty much all I was planning to do, and I think that's all the time that I had allowed to do it. So I'm going to stop there and return the control back to David. So
Amazing.
David, please feel free to carry on.
Thank you so much, Mike. This was great. That was, as I was telling before, this was a 5 to 10% of what the platform can do, but it was probably the right 5 to 10% to start with, just to give people an idea of what it can do before digging in deeper. We're now going to move to Kristen from the London Community Orchestra, who's been using the platform for quite a few months. So she'll tell you about her experience going through the setup and everything about it.
All right. And are you seeing the slideshow, David?
Yes.
Good. Okay, thanks. All right, I'm going to start with some information about the London Community Orchestra. Every orchestra is different in some way from every other orchestra, and I think a little bit of information about what we're like and how we do things will help give some context for how we're using HarmonySite and how it's working for us. The London Community Orchestra, or LCO, has been around for 50 years, which is our milestone anniversary this year. We are based in London, Ontario. We are a group of amateur musicians, really, who pay participation fees in order to play in the orchestra and are not paid to play, although we do have to bring in some extra musicians who do get paid a small rate, to bulk up the numbers for a concert. We play in a local church. That photo is the venue that we have been playing in for the last 12 or so years. We have 4 concerts per season, roughly equally spaced through September to the early May period. And we have weekly rehearsals from September through early May, with breaks over the Christmas holidays and for the school's March break. We are an entirely volunteer-run orchestra. I have a day job. I am not paid to do anything with the LCO. The founders of the orchestra, many of whom played with the orchestra for decades, almost all of those 50 years. The founders of the orchestra really wanted the community aspect to not just mean, members of the community playing, but also very much like of the community and by the community and run by the community in the orchestra. And that, being run by volunteers from within the orchestra sense, that member run sense has stayed throughout the 50 years. There are, I'd say, 40 players who show up to weekly rehearsals, and then our numbers go up to 50 or 55, depending on the repertoire for each concert. And then the runners, the people who keep the orchestra going, I'd say, are primarily me as manager, with a core group of about 4 others that I regularly turn to for help, decision making, specific tasks. And then another 10 or so beyond that who all contribute in some way. They have a specific component of orchestra business that they kind of manage or are in charge of. So there's a fairly large group of people who are doing things for the orchestra. However, we've been managing things in a very non-centralized way so far. And so one of our main motivations for trying HarmonySite was to bring a more centralized way of managing all this orchestra business. Really, so far, everything has been in people's personal email accounts. That Google Drive folder that we linked to, that Mark showed in our demo site or in our site, that's a personal Gmail or Google Drive folder. We do have an orchestra Gmail account, but we've found the multi-factor authentication for Gmail for multiple users in the orchestra not straightforward to set up, and setting up Google Workspace has been a bit of a step beyond what we as a group of volunteers have been able to do. So we've not had so far a really good centralized way of managing how the orchestra does things, and HarmonySite seems like a good way to provide that. Because we've been so decentralized, a lot of things just kind of live with the manager as one person. And so, as Mark was saying, where's the latest members list? Who has it? Who wears the spreadsheet? A lot of those things have been with me as manager. And I wanted an easier way to distribute and share different pieces of the work. And I also think for the organization, that's a better way to handle things, to have more people able to take on more pieces and have some kind of built-in backups. And HarmonySite seems like a good option that way as well. I have a few screenshots of the main things that we've been using in HarmonySite. Mark showed most of them, so I'm going to go through these next few slides pretty quickly. The announcements is kind of the main thing that we've been using so far, because with those weekly rehearsals, we do send out a weekly schedule of, here's the specific movements or parts of the pieces that we're going to rehearse so players can be prepared, or if we're going to have sectionals or other announcements that I want to post. Up until we started using HarmonySite also, we were pretty old school. Our conductor would email me with the plan for the rehearsal, and then I would copy that into another email, add a few more announcements, and email that out to everybody. So having a place where our conductor can post those announcements himself has made my job automatically a little bit easier, and I think just makes the communication more direct for everybody. So the announcements is the main thing that we've been using. The music library we've been posting, you saw how we've been putting up the repertoire there. Up to this point, that repertoire was really just, sent out in email. And so people would have to save the emails or know to look back for emails to find that information. The member database, the mailing lists, we just started telling people about the app. So I'm not sure how many of our members yet are using that. I have populated the events calendar with some bare bones information. I haven't put in things like our rehearsal location because it's been the same for 10 plus years. People are well used to that. But it's on the list of things to add and bulk up what we have on the site. I do like that the calendar allows us to highlight things like when we have a break in our rehearsals. That March break week, for example, always takes people by surprise. And so having a good reference point for that, I really liked having. So like I said, the repertoire information. So having a place where we can tell people, just check the website, everything is there, is I think a helpful change from how we did things before. There are so far 4 or 5 of us who have, actually a couple more. 4 of us have been, setting up the site, working together as administrators. And so I'd say these are kind of the shared perspective from the 4 of us over the last few months. We really like how we can share the work much more easily. It's very easy to go to a person's record, give them permissions for a particular part of the site. You can post announcements, and it's been very easy for people to figure out how to do their specific part of the task. And so I really like that part, and that has definitely helped us share the work around. That's kind of a similar thing of what I mean there with having backups in place. I don't mean like backups of the computer, of the platform and the data we have there. I'm talking more about backups for people, so that if I can't do something one week, I know that somebody else is set up with the same permissions, and it's not dependent on files on my computer or access to my email account and the list of email addresses that I have. So those pieces are working really well. I will say that it is taking longer than we anticipated and had hoped to get ourselves fully set up and comfortable with using HarmonySite. And I do think a big part of that is that we are all volunteers with day jobs doing this orchestra stuff in the evenings and weekends, and kind of very much off the side of our desk, as it were. And I think if 1 or 2 of us were able to spend devote a chunk of time to HarmonySite more than we have, we have a lot more things set up, and we'd have a lot more comfort and familiarity with all of the different pieces that are available, which I will say has really impressed us with how much functionality there is and how many options there are. And we can look at the site and the different components that we're not using yet, and we can see lots of ways that those could be helpful. The new members information, for example, we fairly regularly have new players join us. We've not done a good job of giving them, information to start. So the idea of having a section for new members would be great. Having a place where our board of directors can easily go to information, like in the committee site or documents, also seems really appealing, because again, that right now is just all stored in people's email accounts, personal emails, and individual folders. So there's a lot of things that we see as possibilities, and things that we want to try over the coming months as well, while we still have this trial, and see how different things work. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then we'll have lots of time for questions and back and forth here, is a few perspectives from some of our players so far. So people who are not using this at all as administrators. And for the most part, I would say our players are kind of still very stuck in the way that we used to do things, or have been doing things so far, which is emails. And several people have said, really, all I want is the email. And so they are glad that they still get emails when announcements are posted and shared, and that we can push email notifications out about new repertoire and things that are added to the site. That's very reassuring to them. That culture shift that Mark talked about, in terms of reminding people that all the information is on the site and they just have to go to the member website to see it all, that I think will take a bit of time for our players to get used to, and several more reminders before they do that on a regular basis and they think about it. But I think that the possibility for that over time will make a big difference for people. Several people have said they think the site looks great. The emails that come through are really nicely formatted. When they log in as members, they find it really easy to use and figure out where to go for things, which is great. A few people have said they're just not keen about having yet one more login to remember, one more set of username and password. And I think that's a kind of like maybe password fatigue that a lot of people are experiencing these days. One person at our rehearsal the the other week said, well, you know, a password of 1234 is probably just fine for this site. And I'm not saying that I am recommending that people do that, but the information in this site is maybe not likely to get hacked, or as likely to be concerning as some other websites. So keeping it as a simple login might be the way to go. And then a few people, knowing how much work goes into managing the orchestra and keeping track of everything, have said, like, I'm not keen about having yet one more login and one more place that I need to go. But if it makes things better for you, Kristen, and the other people who are managing the orchestra, then it's going to work just fine for me. Like this is good. And I appreciate that, because so far I do think it is making things work better for me and for the others who are managing the orchestra business. So that's what I wanted to share there. I will stop the screen share and turn it back over to David and open things up for Q&A.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen. I really like the idea that if one of the players does not want to have anything to do with the platform, it's their choice. They can still keep getting the emails, but on the back end of things, on the admin side of everything that has to be done, it makes things simpler. So that's great. That's a win. A few things I had, questions and things that I remember we discussed in one of our meetings that I thought it would be very interesting to sort of bring up. One thing that I thought was clever, and I can see it being very useful, is, I think, Kristen, you told me that there was a way to link a Google Calendar to the actual event page of HarmonySite. So if you have to manage the rehearsals or change any of the details, is it right that you can also do this on your Google Calendar that is linked, and then it's going to automatically update?
Yeah, I think you noticed that we were looking in the event calendar and there was a way to like export it or link it to somebody's personal Google Calendar as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't use the Google Calendar, so I haven't tried that, but yeah.
Yeah, this is another sort of little tool or add-on that can definitely help make life easier. Another thing that I thought, I don't know if it's been mentioned maybe, but there's a lot of information here. The way with which you're able to give people different permissions based on what they have to have access to, or what they have to be able to do, or who they have to be able to message. For example, if you have personal manager, and then they have to be able to email the members, but you don't want every musician you have to be able to see everything. So there's a lot of control there, right?
Sorry, I'm finding my unmute. Yes, a lot of control. And I did find that very easy to set up and choose what level of permissions different people can or should have. And yeah, that seems to work really well for the people that I'm setting up with that access to.
Amazing. And Mark, we saw a section, and you briefly mentioned it, about selling tickets for events. So I'm assuming if the LCO has an upcoming concert, they can use HarmonySite to sell tickets for, the entirety of their audience. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. There's actually quite a substantial financial system built into HarmonySite, which I didn't mention at all. Bit of an oversight. Certainly, you can sell tickets. The ticket selling system is fairly comprehensive. You can set up different pricing levels and so forth. What you can't do, and pretty much the only big thing that you can't do, is have allocated seating. Like this tickets for seat R7 and R8. You can't have a seating map of the auditorium, because auditoriums are notoriously, all different from each other, and trying to set up a seating map for each one is just a nightmare. So it's we don't have that, but other than that, ticket selling is pretty much as you would expect it, and purchasers can print out their own tickets and bring them along to the event and so on, as you would expect. So so there's a full, you can connect up various payment methods to HarmonySite, including a full credit card system, which comes from the credit card provider the payment gateway called Stripe. You've heard of Stripe; they're quite well known around the world. And obviously PayPal, and then there's obviously the regular payment methods like bank transfer, cash, check, and so on. As well as selling tickets, you can also have HarmonySite set up your whole member invoicing system. You can keep track of who pays what membership fees and how often, whether it's annually or quarterly or monthly or week by week or whatever. You can set up all of those things and with one click send out invoices to anybody that needs an invoice. Currently, you can go to the invoicing page and say, anybody need an invoice? Yes, tick, send it, great, and send an invoice to anyone that needs one. And it's just really one click to do an hour's worth of work, which is great. You can also sell merchandise. You can also receive donations, the regular stuff that you'd expect. So so there is a big financial system built in. We don't currently have integration with things like QuickBooks, but that's planned for the future.
Perfect. This is great. We had a question come in from the Scarborough Philharmonic. I say one question, it looks like three, but they were asking about the cost for the platform.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. So HarmonySite has a flat fee, which is $250 per year. I think there's a discount code floating around. I think someone's put it in the chat already. So if you're interested in getting a 10% discount, obviously $25 per year for the life of the site forever, that is the discount code that you would want to use. There it is. Someone's put it in there. ORCHCAN 10, ORCHCAN 10%. So that's the price of HarmonySite. We have a bunch of optional extras which you can take advantage of. For example, the app costs an extra $40 per year. We can manage your domain name as well if you'd like us to for $30 a year. That's totally separate from connecting your domain name to your HarmonySite, which everybody would eventually do at some point. But optionally, we can also manage your domain name. We can become your domain name provider if you want us to. And there's a couple of other optional extras. I won't share my screen again, but if you just go back to harmonysite.com, which I was showing you earlier, there is a pricing tab on there which shows the prices, which obviously is very simple, just $250 a year, but it lists all the optional extras at the bottom of the page as well. So so for Orchestras Canada orchestras, it's $225 per year if they use that discount code.
Perfect, thank you. The other question is, and you kind of touched on that a little bit with mentioning QuickBooks, but is there any current compatibility with other software, or what else may or may not be in the works on that front?
You mean financial software?
Yeah.
Okay, so at the moment, the roadmap is only for QuickBooks and a company called Xero, which starts with an X, so XERO instead of ZERO. That's used in various countries. I actually don't know whether it's widespread use in Canada or not. Every country has their own financial system, so they've got to essentially create a new version of Xero for every country. But we are planning to integrate with Xero and with QuickBooks, but that's not there yet.
Perfect. And then the other question is, what does it do better than other collaborative platforms?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. There are many membership managing platforms out there. Many, dozens, if probably hundreds. As for ones that are set up specifically for performance organizations like orchestras and choirs and choruses and so forth, there's almost none. There's hardly any. And HarmonySite has been specifically developed with the needs of performance ensembles in mind. So all of the music stuff, for example, attendance and availability at events, there's just so many things that are very particular to performance ensembles that other platforms don't do. Other regular membership platforms will handle your membership fees just fine. and your member database just fine, and events just fine, and paying member dues, but they won't handle the performance-related stuff.
And in the same sort of idea question from the London Sinfonia, what makes this different from Google Suites? I'm assuming it's the other side of what you just said.
Google, what, sorry?
Google Suites. Yeah.
You mean Google Workspace, or you mean like...
That's what I'm thinking, yes, yeah.
Or things like Google Sheets and Docs and, all of that stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, yeah, that's a fair question. Sorry, I got a phone call coming here. Get rid of that. Yeah, so of course you can use all of those online tools, the Google suite of tools, which includes Docs and Sheets and email and so forth, Workspace, and some of them are free and some of them are not. Why would you use those? Because they're cheaper, I guess. Why would you use HarmonySite? Because it's more dedicated to the actual tasks that you want to do. It's more finely tailored to your needs rather than a one-size-fits-all approach, which is highly capable. I'm not saying taking anything away from the Google suite of products. They're very useful and they're readily available and free in some cases, but they don't do the specific things that we're looking to do here that relate specifically to performance ensembles. And it's essentially a similar question to before. Why would you not use just some regular membership management package? And of course you can.
That makes sense. I mean, it sounds like, I mean, we all know orchestras and performance groups are sort of a beast of their own. And there's a lot of things out there, like you said, a lot of platforms that are going to be very helpful for member management, or maybe some email platforms. But this is sort of an all-in-one, under one roof focus built from the ground up on performing arts groups.
That's right.
Which is great. One other question I just saw, I think I may have. Oh yes, how about servicing and troubleshooting when necessary?
One more time, please. Sorry, I missed that.
What about servicing and troubleshooting when necessary?
Servicing and troubleshooting. I'm not sure I know what the context of that question is. I mean, if you have troubles, any kind of troubles, then you would just phone us, email us, live chat, whatever. We'll just jump straight on and sort it out for you. We have support technicians in multiple countries. So yeah, we can. I'm not sure if that's the context of the question, though. Is that
that's what I'm assuming. What I'm getting from that question is, if, let's say, an orchestra signs up for it, they start setting things up and they have questions, or they get stuck, what the process is. And from my various meetings with you and Kristen, it seems like it's you just reach out and there's someone that responds pretty quickly and they just help you out.
We actually take considerable pride in our customer support here in HarmonySite. I believe that's probably the single thing that people rave about the most. If you go on the various Facebook groups and so forth that talk about HarmonySite, they just say, oh, their support is extraordinary. There's always someone available to answer your questions and so forth like that. So yeah, email. Most questions come in via email, mostly, and they get replied to within an hour or two, mostly. And certainly, I mean, obviously there's going to be times where it's the middle of the night somewhere and you might not get a question answered within a couple of hours, but certainly within 12 hours, you'll get your answer. And of course you can call us, and there's also a live chat facility on our website that you can call up as well if you need to.
Perfect. One question here, and I'm not too sure. It's could the email program be used to send marketing e-newsletter to our MailChimp mailing list?
We don't have an integration with MailChimp at the moment. We're toying with whether we should create one or not, because we've got we've got some mailing list software built into the platform that works quite well. It's got a few shortcomings, but and MailChimp is obviously a fantastic product. But if we wanted to integrate with MailChimp, that would be a bit of extra work for us to create. I'm not sure if that fully answers the question. David, do you think that's
It does, and I mean, from my understanding, and Chris and Mark, you can both correct me if I'm wrong, because you spent a lot more, and especially Mark, more time with the platform than me. But it sounds like the ideal way of using HarmonySite is sort of to eventually eliminate the need of having MailChimp.
Yeah, ideally. I mean, there are certain features that MailChimp has that we don't have, and if you can live without those, then great. Otherwise, you're going to need to keep using MailChimp for some time until we can integrate our software into that software.
Right. It looks like this is all the questions that are there. And yeah, I think we've covered everything so far. If there's any more questions, please put those in the chat right now. My general overview of this whole experience is definitely that there is some sort of learning curve which comes with any new platform that gets adopted, but that it ends up making people's lives a lot easier, and everything, like Kristen said, nothing is stuck in somebody's personal email anymore. And that if everybody that has to manage the Harmony site on the back end of things does it in a consistent way like everybody else, then things are just going to work out. That's my take. And I think this is, if there's a system in place, and if people get the same kind of training, or they agree on the ways of doing things and labeling things the same way, then it's going to make it easier to create new groups or have the list updated when you add new contacts and all that good stuff. Yeah, so this was really great. It's been a fun past year, sort of getting to know the platform. And Kristen, with the LCO, thank you so much for testing it and trying to make sense of it, and it does. So that was great. And yeah,
David,
thank you so much.
If I could just finish off, I think
Please.
if anybody who's listening would like to know how to get a Harmony site, it's pretty straightforward. You go to our website, which is harmonysite.com, which I did show you before, and there is a free trial button somewhere on the website. I think it's in the top right-hand corner from memory. So look for the free trial, and that takes you to a form where you fill in your name and the name of your group, your name of your orchestra, and a couple of other bits and pieces. And that we'll get notified about that, and we'll have a full website set up for you, just like the LCO website, obviously, but without any details in it, without any members or events or songs. We'll have that set up for you same day, usually again within 12 hours. And that's a free trial. You get 30 days to basically play with it and see if you like it. So you just have to make your decision within 30 days. You don't have to complete your entire website and fill it out and get it ready for launch in 30 days. That's obviously a bit unrealistic, but you do need to make a decision. And at the end of 30 days, you say, no, we're not interested, and that's fine. We'll just delete the site. And if you say, yes, we like it, then we say, great, we change you to a full subscription and send you an invoice. That's how that works.
That's great. And I also would like to mention, I think, Mark, you also said that earlier, but there is a demo site on the HarmonySite
yes.
website.
Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. I'll just quickly share my screen again, sorry. So I did have that set up here somewhere. Just 1 second. HarmonySite demo. So there it is. Thank you. So I'm just going to show you the address there. It is simple. It's just demo.harmonysite.com. And so you can go there, you can log in with full administration privileges. If you can see there, you just use the username of demo and the password of demo. You click the members link in the top corner to do that. And then you put in your demo and your demo there. Oops, that didn't work. Fighting. And log in. and then you get the full thing. There's a whole different HarmonySite that you can play with, and you can actually do anything you want. Please don't mess things up too much, because we've got to come in and clean it up afterwards. But you can play around, you can add members, you can add events, you can add songs, you can add anything you like. You can just play to your heart's content, but please don't be malicious. Okay, so that's demo.harmonysite.com, and the details of how to log in are on the homepage. Stop the share now. Back.
Perfect. Yeah, this was great. So again, thank you so much, Kristen and Mark. Really appreciate you taking the time, especially you, Mark, very early in the morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, David, for the opportunity.
No, of course. Really glad to partnering with HarmonySite on this. If you have any more questions, feel free to email us or Mark directly if you want on HarmonySite.
If you like. Sorry to interrupt, David. You can email me if you like directly. Mark@harmonysite.com. It's pretty easy.
And yeah, we will be sure to share the recording on our website, and we'll let you know as soon as it's posted if you'd like to share it with your colleagues that couldn't make it today. And I think that's all we had to say today. Kristen and Mark, anything else you'd like to add before we end the meeting?
No, I'm good. I'm grateful for the opportunity, David. Thank you for that time.
Thank you, Mark.
And I'm very grateful to Orchestras Canada and HarmonySite for giving us a chance to test it out. It's been really great. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen, for taking all the time. Well, everybody, I wish you a great day. Thanks again for coming to the session. And yeah, hope to see you soon.
Okay. Thanks again.
Bye.